The day Jane stepped back onto Nigerian soil, the air felt both familiar and foreign. 5 years had passed, 5 long stretchy years, since she fled the country with nothing but pain stitched inside her heart. Now she had returned, a different woman. The girl who once cried herself to sleep was no more. In her place stood a woman who had climbed mountains the world thought would bury her. Jane had completed her master's degree with top honors. She had gone ahead to earn her PhD, becoming one of the youngest in her field to achieve such a feat. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was thriving. Along the way, she secured a prestigious job in the US, the kind that many only dreamed of, and despite the distance, she never forgot home. Her parents' modest house, once weathered by rain and time, was now a construction site for a stunning mansion funded entirely by Jane. She had also sent generous funds to her old counselor, the woman who once pulled her back from the edge of despair, to build a state-of-the-art center for young girls, a project that brought tears to the woman's eyes. Jane's generosity became the unseen thread tying her to the family she left behind. The airport arrival was emotional. Her parents were the first to spot her. Her mother screamed her name, running to hug her tightly, tears streaming down her face. Her father, usually composed, clutched her like a man who had found his long-lost treasure. "My baby," her mother sobbed, holding Jane's cheeks. "You're home, finally home." Even her siblings, who once treated her with jealousy and indifference, smiled sheepishly, coming forward to greet her. They had matured too. Life had softened them. Back at home, the new mansion was still under construction, but already majestic. Jane walked through the site, smiling faintly at the beautiful progress. She felt proud. That evening, as the family sat together, eating pounded yam and vegetable soup, her mother started carefully. "Jane, my daughter, you know you've achieved so much and we are proud. But you're not getting younger. Look around. Your mates are married with children." Jane laughed lightly, shaking her head. "Mommy, I just came back. Please allow me rest small." Her mother pressed her hand. "I want to carry my grandchildren before my knees fail me. Career is good, but children are a blessing that don't wait forever." Jane smiled faintly, a sadness flickering in her eyes. "Mommy, I promise you I will stay with you people for 2 months before I travel back. But if you keep pressuring me about marriage, I might change my mind and leave sooner." Her mother raised her hands dramatically. "Okay, I will not pressure you again. No more talks of marriage." Jane laughed again, feeling lighter. But what she didn't know was that her mother had already set her own secret plan in motion. The next morning, Jane's rest was disturbed by a string of uninvited guests. "This is Brother Samuel," her mother said, leading a smiling man into the living room. "He's a good Christian. He's been asking after you." Jane excused herself with a polite but frozen smile. The next day, another man arrived. And another. Jane realized quickly her mother had no intentions of keeping her promise. Frustrated, Jane spent most of her time supervising the mansion project, visiting old friends, and catching up with her life. It was one of those days that her friend Tolu dragged her to a hangout at a cozy restaurant. "Just a small catch-up," Tolu insisted. "Nothing serious. Most of our old classmates will be there." Jane agreed reluctantly. She sat at a corner table with some of her university mates, laughing and reminiscing about old times, when suddenly the door opened and he walked in. Tall, clean-shaven, his broad shoulders carrying a quiet confidence. "Jude." Tolu nudged Jane sharply. "Is that not Jude from engineering class?" Jane looked up and stiffened slightly. Yes, it was him. Jude caught their eyes and his face lit up. Without hesitation, he walked over. "Wow, Jane, you look even more beautiful than I remember." They exchanged greetings, polite laughters, casual memories. As they spoke, Jane noticed how much he had matured. Back in school, he barely spoke to her. She always carried herself with the air of seriousness that made her seem unapproachable. But now there was something different, warmer, gentler. Before leaving, Jude smiled at her again. "If you don't mind, I'd like to take you out sometime. Just catch up properly. No pressure." Jane hesitated. "I'll think about it," she replied, smiling lightly, but in her mind she was already building a wall. At first, Jane didn't take Jude seriously. When he called the first time, she said she was in a meeting with the project supervisor. When he called again 2 days later, she said she was reviewing architectural drawing. Another day, she claimed she was feeling dizzy from side stress and needed rest. It became a pattern. Excuse after excuse, day after day. Her friends noticed and laughed about it. "Jane, this your shakara is too much," Tolu teased one evening after visiting her at her home. "The guy just wants one harmless date, not your blood." Jane smiled lazily. "I'm not ready. I have too much going on." But deep down, she knew it wasn't just about being busy. It was fear. Fear of letting anyone close again. Fear of trusting wrongly. Fear of breaking all over again. Still, Joe didn't give up. His texts stayed polite, respectful. His calls were patient, never accusing. He would simply ask, "Whenever you're free, I'd love to catch up." Finally, after a particularly stressful day, supervising frustrated bricklayers, and after her mother had tried to introduce yet another suitor, Jane sighed heavily and sent a reply. "Fine, let's meet. 1 hour, no pressure." Jude's response came almost instantly. "Anytime you're ready, I'll be there." And so reluctantly, cautiously, Jane agreed to the date. The day of the casual meeting arrived. Jane sat at the outdoor section of a quiet cafe, sunglasses shielding her eyes from the sun. She had dressed simply, jeans, a light blouse, and sneakers, nothing that screamed date. She kept reminding herself, it's just a friendly catch-up, nothing more. When Jude arrived, he spotted her immediately and waved, a boyish grin lighting up his face. Jane found herself smiling too, despite herself. He looked good. Simple polo shirt, jeans, a confident but humble air around him. No flashy jewelry, no loud behavior, just calm. They ordered smoothies and sat down. For a few minutes, it was all light conversation. "Where have you been? How is life abroad?" Memories of annoying lecturers and missed classes. Jane found herself laughing, real laughter, for the first time in a long while. Then Jude leaned back, studying her carefully. "You're really different now," he said. "In school, you were like this distant star. Brilliant, beautiful, but completely unreachable." Jane chuckled, sipping her drink. "Maybe I had my walls too high." He snarled. "I understand now. Sometimes walls are not because someone is proud. Sometimes it's survival." His words touched something deep inside her, but she pushed it aside quickly. As the conversation drifted, Jude asked about her life back home. She sighed. "Honestly, I'm overwhelmed with these building projects for my parents. These contractors are draining my life every day. It's one excuse or the other." Jude leaned forward. "Wait, you're building a house?" She nodded. "I can imagine. Dealing with artisans, site managers, and site engineers here can be crazy. That's actually my field, civil engineering. If you want, I can take a look at the project. No charges, just to help." Jane blinked, caught off guard. "Really? Really? Come on, for old time's sake. Plus, I hate hearing good people being cheated." Jane hesitated. Was it wise? Could she trust anyone again? But something about Jude's sincerity made her soften. "All right," she said finally. "Maybe you can come check it out sometime." He grinned. "You won't regret it." From that day, things began to shift. Jude visited the site with her once, then twice, then almost every week. He pointed out flaws the engineers tried to hide. He renegotiated outrageous prices on her behalf. He suggested better materials at cheaper rates. Jane started seeing real progress on the house. Faster, cleaner, stronger. And through all the site visits, laughs shared in heat, meals grabbed from the roadside food vendor, a bond quietly blossomed. One evening, as they sat reviewing roofing plans at a cafe, Jude casually dropped a surprising piece of news. I'm planning to relocate to the US soon. I've started the process. There is a certification course I need to complete first, but after that, I should be able to practice over there. Jane's eyes widened slightly. Really? That's great. He smiled shyly. Yeah, maybe God knew what he was doing bringing us back together now. Jane laughed it off, brushing her hair away from her face. But inside, her heart gave a small, unexpected flutter. Without thinking too much, she found herself offering, if you need help navigating anything, visas, accommodation, schooling, I can assist. He looked at her, gratitude shining in his eyes. Thank you, Jane. You have no idea what that means to me. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, her mother's matchmaking attempt hadn't stopped. Almost every day, some new suitor just happened to pass by the house. He's a banker. He just returned from Canada. He's the son of our pastor's friend. Jane grew increasingly frustrated. She had already agreed to stay for 2 months. Wasn't that enough? Why couldn't they let her breathe? Her friends kept teasing her too. Jude is clearly serious about you, Jane. Stop doing strong head. Open your heart small now. Jane would roll her eyes, mumble, leave me alone. But inside she knew something was cracking. The weeks that followed felt like something out of a dream Jane never knew she needed. Her meeting with Jude became more frequent, at first under the excuse of project supervision, but eventually just because they enjoyed each other's company. He was funny without trying, he was kind without pretending, and most of all, he made her feel safe. One Saturday afternoon, they met at the site again, both wearing jeans and dusty sneakers. Jude reviewed the new plaster work, pointing out small errors the contractors tried to hide. You have to watch them, he said, laughing. If you blink, they'll cover it up and still demand full payment. Jane shook her head amused. Thank God you're here. I would have been robbed blind. You're not just paying for cement, Jane, he teased. You're paying for sense. They both burst into laughter. It was easy with him. Too easy. After the site, they would sometimes grab suya from a roadside stand or stop for cold drinks under an umbrella. There was no pressure between them, no pretending. Just two people slowly letting their walls fall brick by brick. One evening, as they sat by the unfinished swimming pool of her soon-to-be mansion, watching the sunset over the growing estate, Jude turned to her seriously. I don't just enjoy helping you, he said, voice low. I enjoy being around you. Jane's heart skipped. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the sky, at the birds turning to their nest, and wondered if her heart, battered, wounded, was finally finding its home too. Jude's old friend, or what was left of that friendship, David, began to grow restless. David, who had known the terrible truth buried deep inside Jude's chest. David, who once promised to take you to the grave, now seeing Jude's happiness. David's envy festered like a wound. He called Jude one evening, while Jude was driving back from the site with Jane. Guy, you did alright now. You just forget person like that. David laughed bitterly. Jude smiled tiredly. I've been busy, man. David's tone changed. Busy enjoying your life, Abby. Guy, help your boy now. I need to relocate too. I need serious money for visa processing and all. Help me, Jude. Jude sighed. David, it's not that easy. My money is tied up now with project plans. Remember, I'm the only one who knows your secrets. Jude gripped the sterling wheel tighter, glancing at Jane, who was laughing softly at something on her phone. His heart raced. David continued, don't push me to do something you regret. Help me, or you know what could happen. Jude, throat tightened. He ended the call quietly, trying not to show anything on his face. Jane noticed. "You're quiet," she said. Jude forced a smile. "Just side stress, nothing serious." The blackmail didn't stop. David sent texts, left voicemails, always the same line. "Remember, I know your secret." Jude lived with a constant knot in his chest. The days raced by, between supervising her parents' project and sneaking moments of laughter with Jude. Jane found herself living a life she didn't think she would ever enjoy again. She was lighter, she smiled more. The walls she built with blood and tears were slowly crumbling. And Jude, he was becoming her safe place. They began making plans quietly, talking about dreams, talking about building a future. He would move fully to the US once his certification was complete. She promised to help him settle. Everything was beautiful. One Saturday afternoon, Jane decided to surprise Jude. They had just finalized the last paint color for her parents' new house, and Jane thought it would be sweet to bring him his favorite snack, suya and a cold malt drink, as a thank you for all his help. She knew he would be home. He had casually mentioned earlier that he wasn't going out. Smiling to herself, she bought the suya, picked up the malt, and headed to his house. The gate was slightly ajar. His front door too. She stepped in quietly, hoping to catch him relaxing on the couch. But as she walked in towards the living room, voices floated to her ears. Heated, angry, male voices. She paused instinctively, hidden behind the walls. David's voice snapped through the air. "I'm tired of waiting, Jude. Help me now, or else." Jude's voice was low and strained. "David, just give me time. I told you." After some months, David cut him off sharply. "You think I'm playing with you? You think you can marry her and live happily ever after while I'm here suffering?" Jude's voice was tense. "David, lower your voice." David's voice grew louder, reckless with rage. "I'm the only one who knows your secret, Jude. You raped Jane that night, and you think you deserve to marry her?" The wall tilted. Jane's heart stopped. Her legs buckled, forcing her to grab the wall to steady herself. Did she hear that right? She staggered forward unconsciously, her suya pack slipping from her fingers and falling to the floor with a slow, tragic tug. The noise caught the men's attention. Jude turned, saw her standing there, frozen, pale, trembling, eyes wide and broken. "Jane," he whispered, his voice crackling. David stepped back, eyes wide in horror. Jane stumbled backwards, shaking her head violently, as if trying to erase the words from her mind. "Jude," she croaked, tears blurring her vision. "What did I just hear? Tell me it's not true. Tell me." Jude's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Jane turned and fled, out of the door, through the gate, across the street, running blindly. She didn't hear Jude calling her. She didn't hear David shouting behind them. All she heard was the shatters of her heart into a million screaming pieces. She didn't stop running until she reached home. Then, bursting into the sitting room, gasping for air, face wet with tears, she collapsed into her mother's arms. "Mommy, Mommy," she cried, trembling. "It was him. It was Jude. It was him." Her mother panicked, holding her daughter tightly. "What is it? What happened?" Through choked sobs, she confessed, "He's the one. He's the one who raped me back then. It was him." The house fell into chaos. Her father stood frozen, fists clenched. Her siblings gathered, shocked into silence. The man they had welcomed, the man they had trusted, the man Jane had begun to love. Within 48 hours, Jane packed her bags. She couldn't stay, not in the same air, not on the same soil. Without a word to Jude, without a word to most of her friends, she boarded the next flight back to the US. She disappeared like smoke. Jude called, he texted, he sent long desperate voice notes, but Jane never replied. Back in the US, Jane sank into work, into long shifts, into sleepless nights. But no matter how much she ran, she couldn't outrun the pain or the truth. The betrayal was a wound that refused to heal. And worse still, the love she felt for Jude hadn't died. It lived inside her like a curse. Jane thought she had closed that chapter. After returning to the US, she buried herself in work, blocking all calls from Nigeria, deleting messages before reading them. She couldn't afford to break again, not after how much it took to heal the first time. One evening, just as the sun was sinking behind the city skyline, her old counselor called from a different number. Jane almost didn't answer, but something, maybe hope, maybe curiosity, maybe fate, made her pick up. The counselor's voice was gentle. "My daughter, come home. Not for him, for yourself." Jane listened in silence. "There are words you need to hear, things you deserve to say. Don't carry this pain all your life. Let it end here." Tears welled up in Jane's eyes. Maybe she wasn't as healed as she thought. Maybe she needed to look him in the face and free herself. 2 weeks later, Jane stood once again on Nigerian soil. But this time, there was no celebration, no cheerful hugs, no joyful laughter, only quiet resolve. The counselor arranged a private meeting at her new center, the one Jane had helped to build. The room was warm and simple, just 3 chairs, a table, and the heavy weight of the years of buried truth. Jane sat on one side, the counselor sat in the middle, and then Jude walked in. He looked different, gaunt, broken, a shadow of the confident man she had once laughed with. The moment he saw her, tears filled his eyes instantly. He didn't sit, he fell to his knees. "Jane," he choked, hands trembling. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Jane folded her arms, her body stiff, her face unreadable. The counselor spoke softly. "Let it out, both of you. Speak your truth." Jude wiped his face, trying to steady himself, but the words tumbled out, raw, heavy, dripping with shame. "That night, I didn't come to hurt you," he paused, breathing hard. "I came to your hostel to tell you how much I admired you, how much I loved you. Even though you didn't know, you were so beautiful, so perfect. I had no courage to speak to you during school." Jane's hand gripped her chair tightly, but she said nothing. "I was tipsy that night. I drank more than I should have. I don't even know why." He sobbed openly now, no pride left. "When I came in, you were lying there, half covered, so beautiful, so vulnerable. I swear to God, Jane, it was like something snapped in me. I lost all senses." He broke down, clutching his head. "Before I knew it, I had done the unspeakable. When I realized what happened, I tried to wake you, but you didn't move. I panicked and left." Jane's chest tightened painfully. She closed her eyes, but tears slipped out anyway. Jude continued, voice shaking. "I live with this guilt every day. I told David because I couldn't bear it alone. I wanted to confess to you before we graduated. But before I could, you disappeared. No one knew where you went." He crawled closer on his knees, like a penitent man. "When I saw you again after all these years, it felt like God was giving me another chance. Not to hurt you, but to love you properly this time. To protect you, to be the man you deserved." He bowed his head. "I don't deserve forgiveness. But I love you, Jane. I have always loved you, and I will spend the rest of my life making up for it if he lets me." Silence filled the room. Jane opened her mouth and the dam broke. "Do you know what you did to me?" she whispered, voice cracking. Jude sobbed harder, nodding helplessly. "You stole my peace, my childhood, my innocence." She stood shaking violently. "You shattered my life. I tried to die because of you. I hated myself. I hated men. I hated breathing." The counselor quietly placed a hand on her shoulder, grounding her. Jane gasped for air between sobs. "I carried that shame for years. Years. And you lived your life." Jude raised his hand in surrender, his tears flowing freely. "I didn't live. I died inside every day. I hated myself too. I wanted to confess. I wanted to beg you, but I was a coward." Jane looked at him long and hard. For the first time, she saw not a villain, not a monster, but a broken, flawed boy who had made a terrible mistake and lived with it like a burning scar. Finally, Jane sat down again, exhausted. After long minutes, she spoke softly. I don't excuse what you did. I never will, but I believe you didn't plan it. And I believe you suffered too. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Forgiveness isn't for you, Jude. It's for me. He raised his eyes to her. Jane smiled weakly, broken, beautifully. I forgive you. Jude collapsed into sobs again, bowing his head to the floor. The counselor wept silently too, whispering prayers under her breath. The days that followed were slow, but healing. Jude severed ties with David completely, blocking him from his life. I should never have trusted a snake, he told Jane one evening. They started rebuilding carefully, no rushing, no pressure. And in time, with the blessings of their family and the quiet approval of the counselor, Jane and Jude finally got married in a small, beautiful ceremony surrounded by true friends and genuine love. It wasn't a fairy tale, it wasn't perfect, but it was real and it was theirs. The end. Some of the lessons to be learned from this Jane story are: forgiveness does not mean forgetting, it means freedom. Not every mistake is pure evil, but every action has consequences. True love is built on trust, healing, and patience. Sometimes, closure is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Friends can betray you worse than enemies. Life always gives us second chances, but it's your choice to accept them. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you have not watched the part 1 yet, the link to part 1 has been dropped in the description box for you to watch and to understand better. I will see you in the next one, my loves. Till then again, bye.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Please click on the subscribe button to support us. Turn on the post notification to get notified when I upload a new story. Like, share, and comment your thoughts. Till then, bye.